know, at 6:30. 15 minutes later, they're going to start interviewing neighbors to see what they heard. News spread fast. Bystanders and cars were all trying to see what was going on. So in the meantime, a detective, Robert Burkhart, showed up, and he started questioning Butch. And Butch explained that he had to break the kitchen window to get in. But when they're sitting in the kitchen, and when Burkhart looks over, the kitchen window is not broken, it's actually open.
Oh,
So that's the first thing, like,
you're lying.
Right.
criminals are not always the smartest, let me tell you.
No.
And then I don't know if it was right when he looked over at the window or if later, but sometime that same night, that window crashed down and shattered.
That's crazy.
So obviously this guy's lying, but still it's like maybe trauma, but even in trauma, how would you not know whether you broke the window or opened it?
Right.
Family members started arriving, including Louise's dad, which I cannot imagine. His name's Michael Brigant Sr. He was interviewed in the kitchen area, and he mentioned that Big Ronnie had told him he was getting some suspicious phone calls. And so in order to preserve the scene, police moved the command center from to a nearby home around 7:30, 7:45. And then Butch was taken to the police for a formal interview. Now, at the time, they said he was not a suspect. I'm not sure if I agree with that.
Did he have blood on him?
Not that they could tell. But there's a reason for that. But I mean, what do you think? To me, the police are just knowing how they think. They're going to immediately look at Butch, but they were assuring everybody he's not a suspect.
The window, the only one left.
The detective, I think, right off the bat, probably suspected him.
Yeah. Okay. So they said they didn't at first. I think they're full of it. They always start with the family and then they go out. Okay. So Butch first said that he thought it was a mob hit, and he named a guy named Louis Fellini as the hitman. After he shared his thoughts on who did it, he told detectives that he stayed up late watching TV, but that he couldn't sleep. So he left for work early. He thought everyone was alive when he left. He then said that he'd been trying to get a hold of his family all day. Every single family annihilator or murderer who does not disappear like John List says they tried to call their wife all day. They tried to call their parents all day. It's like, get something different. Like, be the one person that, hey, I just came home from work and found them all dead. You know what I mean? It's like they're trying to create this picture of a concerned child or concerned spouse, which to me, because everyone does that, I immediately think guilty.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he went home. He noticed his parents' cars were in the driveway, but no one would answer the door, and he didn't have his house keys with him. So he broke the kitchen window to get in. He went up to his parents' room, found them dead, and he said that he drove back to Henry's bar to get help. And he'd actually been there earlier in the afternoon drinking with his buddies. But things weren't making any sense to the cops. So they went ahead and they put Butch in protective custody just in case there was a mob hit. However, detectives found an empty box of .35 caliber Marlin bullets, the same bullets that killed each victim, in Butch's room.
They're not very bright.
Well, he could have been drunk too.
Right.
I mean, just leave a note saying I killed him, like John List did, people. I mean, come on. Dear John, I still think that's a good book.
Mine's better.
Okay.
My list.
They didn't find the rifle. And then the autopsies put the time of death at 3:15 a.m., which is an important time, when Butch was at home, according to the statement. Now, at first, the cops were like, man, was the family drugged? Just because they were all face down like that just didn't make any sense to them. But
and if you heard a gunshot, of all the people, you would get up.
Right.
So maybe.
But if you have a gun pointed at you, telling you to get back in bed on your face, or scared little kids, which usually will hide under the covers, then it makes sense. But yeah, no drugs were found in their bloodstream. And what's equally weird is no neighbors heard the 8 gunshots. However, they did hear the dog barking. So I'm wondering if the dog barking like kind of muffled or camouflaged the gunshot.
That's a
But a
big
gunshot,
noise.
yeah, that's a big noise. That's bigger than a dog.
But so is a big dog's bark. I mean, they may have not realized they were hearing gunshots because of dog barking. I'm not sure.
Right.
Well, there's already, some weird stuff happening.
Mhm.
It is weird. I think that all of it can be explained so far, but it's definitely, I think it fed into the whole scenario.
I don't know about the window though.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. So confronted with the facts and that Butch's story wasn't adding up, he confessed. So he said that he started with his parents, he entered the room and he shot his father twice in the back. Within seconds, he turned the rifle on his mother, shooting her twice in the back and the side. He then went into his brother's room and he stood between their two beds and he shot both in their backs. Mark was killed instantly and little John twitched for a few moments because a bullet, it went through his spinal cord, severing it. He then went into his sister's room. Allison looked up just as he lowered the rifle and shot her in the face. So that sounds to me that she was already on her stomach and then she looked, he fired, and then he aimed his rifle at Dawn and blew off the left side of her face. He then wiped out his entire family in 15 minutes.
So it sounds like they all just, well, okay. So that's not bam, 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 walk, bam, bam, bam,
No.
bam.
So, I
So
don't-
he had to have took some control, had some issues with some of them.
Yeah, because you'd get up and run out. You had to reload a shotgun.
And the fact that they were covered after.
I wonder if he arranged them on their stomachs.
They were all shot in bed. So I personally believe he, with the shotgun, they've already heard it go off, forced them to lay down and not look at him.
Yeah.
It's different rooms. Wouldn't you get up and run away or get
Well,
up?
that's what I'm thinking, but he probably, it's all right there together.
Mhm.
Now, I know like in some of the true crime where there's children involved, they will hide under the covers or they'll get under their bed. Like they will stay in the room.
Right.
And so they may have done that. I think Dawn did get up from some of the photos and things I was looking at. But if the little ones, they may have been so scared they were paralyzed. So I think he had to have some form of control too. Now, afterward, he calmly showered, trimmed his beard. That's important when you kill people. Dressed in his jeans and work boots. He took his bloody clothing and the rifle, which he wrapped in a pillowcase, went out to his car and drove into Brooklyn, where he disposed of the evidence in a storm drain. He then returned to work reported to work at his grandfather's Buick dealership around 6 a.m. To further establish his alibi, he tried calling home several times while at work when his father didn't show up. He left around noon, acting as if he was bored with nothing to do at work, which was pretty common for him. And he called his girlfriend Sherry to let her know they wanted to stop and see her. He arrived at her house at 1:30, and he just casually mentioned he couldn't get a hold of his family.
Well, if you couldn't get a hold, why didn't he call the police or a
Or
neighbor?
go home.
Or go home. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and he called from the house just to show her that he couldn't get a hold of him.
Yeah. Oh, true.
So then he took her shopping, and afterward they drove to Bobby's house, and he again expressed concern with not being able to get a hold of his family. He told Bobby and his girlfriend they thought it was weird because he had driven by the house and all the cars were there. So Butch then asked Bobby if he's going out later, and he said he's going to take a nap and then go to Henry's bar around 6.
If you're that concerned, why didn't you go home? Why'd you go shopping?
Here's the thing though. I mean, you can't get a hold of a family member like now. They're not answering their cell, their phone's dead, whatever. You go about your day. But what's weird is that you don't drive by the house.
He
and just-
did. He drove by the house,
That's weird.
but
Yeah.
then didn't go in. Right.
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 Yeah, that's weird. So then Butch spent the rest of the afternoon visiting friends, drinking, and taking heroin. He arrived at Henry's around 6 and once again expressed his concern about his family. He told Bobby that he thought he'd go to the house and see what was going on. He explained before he left that he was going to have to break a window because he didn't have his keys. So Bobby's like, do what you got to do, dude. You know, it's okay.
Now, why would you explain it? I don't have
Right.
my key to break through the window.
Like to me, that's just weird. He's being
Just
weird.
go. Yeah.
Mhm. So that's when he returned at 6:30 yelling for help. Okay, so by 8:45 the next morning, Butch was read his rights and the questioning was intense and they pressured him saying it just didn't add up. There was no mob hit. His story was falling apart. So he put his head in his hands and said, "Give me a minute." They kept pressuring him and finally he said, "It all started so fast. Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast." So he showed them where he disposed of all the evidence and they went and they found the clothes. So this is a rifle. They did discover it.
It looks like it's at their house. I
Uh,
think they found it at the house.
no, they found it where he disposed of the clothes and stuff. And then this is a crime scene of them starting to remove the bodies because the house was black. So that's not, yeah, he disposed of it in a drain in Brooklyn.
Mm.
Okay. Oh, and then this is him being arrested right here. So I can imagine what the cops thought, especially back then. I don't think killing your entire family was, normal. It's not even normal today.
Not common.
Butch tried to change his story several times, and a lot of people, even to this day, believe there was more than one killer because of just how they were all laying face down. Like, how did he control all those people? It's like, 6 people. But after reading about this case, I personally think he did it alone. Yeah. And his trial started October 14th, 1975. Butch tried to act like he was insane. Like they showed him a picture of his mom. He's like, "I don't know who that is." After seeing his father's picture, he said he killed them all in self-defense because they were going to kill him, including his little brother. He also said that he was God. So the prosecutor pressed him about the murders themselves. And listen to this. So the prosecutor's really going after him, right? He said, "You felt good at the time?" The prosecutor asked. "Yes, sir. I believe it felt very good." "Is that because you knew they were dead? Because you had given them each 2 shots," which isn't accurate. He didn't kill each one of them twice or shoot them twice. "I don't know why. I can't remember that, honestly." "Do you remember being glad?" "I don't remember being glad, but I remember feeling very good." Good.
Didn't he later use that he was possessed?
Mm-hmm.
Possessed or hearing?
Hearing things telling him to kill his family. That was after Amityville Horror.
Oh.
Yeah. And then he even blamed his sister. Like he said that him and his sister had both decided to kill their parents because his sister Dawn and him hated their dad and their mom. And that they were going to do it together and they were going to recruit some friends. Well, then Dawn, he decided he didn't want to do that. And then Dawn just started killing them. And then he got mad at her and killed her. So he blamed Dawn for killing everybody else. And then he killed her because she killed the family. It's bogus. There's no evidence.
Wasn't there incest between him and his sister? In
I
the
didn't
book,
read that anywhere.
that's what it has in there.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know of any of that. Interesting. No wonder he had to annihilate them
I
all.
don't know if it's true.
Now, Butch threatened the prosecutor's life on the stand. And the prosecutor was really worried the jury would think that he was insane because that was his main goal. And he wanted to show that he wasn't. And so he really pushed him. So sure enough, the jury's first vote came back 10-2 with 2 jurors unsure if he was insane. And I can understand that because it's insane to kill your entire family. But the point is insanity. If you know that you did wrong, you're not insane.
Right.
And so after reviewing the transcript of Butch's testimony, they returned with a guilty verdict to 6 counts of second-degree murder. And he was sentenced to 25 years and he's still alive. So this is the latest photo of him right
He
here.
was only sentenced to 25 years?
To life.
Oh,
There he
Is,
is.
is he still alive?
Yeah. Yeah, that's him on the screen.
But I mean, is that in jail still?
Yeah. Yeah, he's still in jail. He looks
Oh,
really weird and
yeah.
skinny.
he does.
You know, some of those friends of his should be alive also,
Probably
right?
so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as far as the type of family annihilator, I think he's definitely socially unstable and disappointed. But quite frankly, I just think he was abused and he became an abuser. Plus, he was extremely narcissistic. And I also think he was a psychopath, no empathy
Right.
at
Right.
all. He was very manipulative too. And he's on like heroin and amphetamines and alcohol. So there's no telling how his brain was. Now, they did find a motive though. And so it might have been tied to some money he had actually stolen from his grandfather's dealership. So he was supposed to deposit over $20,000, but he claimed that on the way to the bank, he was robbed by a mobster.
Him and his mobsters.
Oh my
I
God.
know. And so the day before the murders, he was supposed to go into the police station and look at mug shots to try to, get the mobster who robbed him. He never showed up because he was the one that stole the murder or the money. And so a lot of people think that he killed his family to get out of that whole thing. So, I mean, yeah, it makes sense to me. Instead of going, possibly being on probation for stealing $20,000, I'll just go murder everybody. You know what I mean?
No, not the entire family though.
Yeah, that's why to me, he's definitely a psychopath, narcissist.
Don't you think though? Maybe is that brain? I mean,
I
that he
think it contributed.
huh?
I think it definitely contributed,
Yeah.
but I also think a lot of people are abused.
Right.
A lot of people are abused, though, some even more severe than him, and they don't kill their entire families. It's like, yeah, kill your abuser if you're needing to get away, but why your little brother? Why your other, siblings? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I personally wonder too if some of the motive was him to get the inheritance.
How
Mm,
much was it? Do you know?
I don't know. And it doesn't seem like Big Ronnie was actually that well off. A lot of it was Louise's dad.
Yeah.
But if she's dead and all his siblings dead, does he get all of it when his grandparents died? Like, did he have more people he was going to kill?
right.
Probably
So,
because the grandparents weren't that old, where they'd, be dead in a few years.
yeah, I don't know. So I want to switch gears a little bit and shift it to the Amityville horror aspect. I got my opinion. I'd love to hear y'all's opinion, but I want to first share my viewpoint based on a ministry perspective, obviously doing that a lot. So I have met a lot of people, including myself, where I've had strange supernatural things occur. So I definitely know this stuff is real, but my perspective is it's demonic. I don't believe in ghosts, and so ghosts are demons. That's my perspective. I do believe that violence opens the door to the demonic. Okay, but there's some weird things when it comes to the Lutzes. So here's some of the stuff that was going on. So George said that he would wake up every morning at 3:15. And we know that's when everybody was murdered. Okay. They claim to smell strange odors, see green slime oozing out of the walls and keyholes, and then they would experience cold spots in certain areas of the house, which I've experienced cold spots before too. It's like you literally walk into an area and it's like, freezing. And then I've also experienced warm spots. So they felt that the priest that came to bless the house allegedly heard a voice scream, "Get out." And then he told the Lutzes to never sleep in a particular room of the house, which is where he heard that voice. They also had a nearby garage door opening and closing by itself, an invisible spirit knocking a knife down in the kitchen, a pig like creature with red eyes staring down at George and his son Daniel from a window, George waking up to his wife Kathy levitating off their bed, and sons Daniel and Christopher also levitating off of their beds together. They did admit later that some things were added or exaggerated for the book and the movie, like when the window came down on the boy's hands and crushed them. That didn't really happen, they said. But they both passed their lie detector tests. Their son Daniel, who recently shared his story in a documentary, which I watched, he was still scared to this day from what happened to him as a kid. It's also apparent that he didn't like his stepdad, and he was very strict and harsh. But here's what's interesting. Everyone else, apart from the Lutzes, experienced absolutely no supernatural in that house at all. It was a normal house. So why the Lutzes?
I had thought that the owner after them or before had experienced some stuff and
Well,
they've
that's
moved out.
Alexis. They were the ones after.
The Lutzes were immediately after, and no one before was in the house except for the DeFeos. But no one, even his friends. So George Lutz's friends, they went to the house after they fled. It was like 28 days they were in the house to pick up some items for them, and they felt absolutely nothing at all.
Maybe they brought it with them or believed it.
And I have a couple thoughts on it that I'll share with you. But this picture right here was one of the pictures taken after, I think it was when those people we were discussing earlier were there. So these are the Kathy and George, okay? And let's see. Let me get back to that picture.
You passed it right there.
That's creepy.
Yeah. So this to me looks like, I'm trying to find little John. It could look like either one of them. And they've analyzed that photo. It has not been doctored, nor has it been touched up.
But again, not ghost, familiar spirits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so definitely a demonic. And then you'll notice it looks like he's wearing PJs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think definitely it opened the door to demonic stuff. But again, why the Lutzes? Okay. Now, before I get into my thoughts, listen to this statement from a Jim and Barbara Cromartie, who purchased the home March 18th, 1977 from the bank, because the Lutzes never went back. They never set foot in that house again. And so they bought it from the bank, and they weren't very happy because of the hordes of tourists searching for supernatural phenomenon afterward. So they made a statement because they sued the Lutzes and several people. They said the quiet village of Amityville, Long Island has been made infamous by a hoax. It will possibly never be the same. It is Long Island's equivalent to Watergate. None of us would be here today if a responsible publisher and author had not given credibility to two liars and allowed them the privilege of putting the word true on a book in which in all actuality is a novel. The credibility of the hoax stems from using a charlatan Catholic priest who has been banned from performing his religious duties by the Diocese of Rockville Center, the equivalent of a disbarment of a lawyer. This charlatan priest has been involved with a complicity to a lie and therefore deserves no credibility and should be dealt with accordingly. Now, Jim and his wife who made the statement, he played in the house as a child. And they were trying to make the home a part of the community again. They knew to them it was not true. But unfortunately, they were forced to move after living there just 10 years because, of all the tourists and all of the phenomenon around it. They couldn't sell it. They couldn't sell the house. No one wanted to buy it. So they moved back in and they lived there until 1987, and not a single supernatural event occurred the entire time they were there. So they sued the Lutzes and they sued the publishers of the book Amityville Horror for millions, claiming that false misrepresentations were made willfully, claiming that and solely for commercial exploitation. And then they agreed to an undisclosed settlement. So several other families lived in the house as well, They always sold it at a discount because obviously no one's going to buy it for full price. Nothing weird happened to them either. So then it was sold in February 2017 for $200,000 below asking. Over the years, they changed the address and then the creepy eye windows. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what it looks like. And they actually had to change the address as well. I think they changed it to 109. But this is the back. So this is the garage that, well, the boat house
The boat house.
and the door that kept going up and down and the dog and all that. But yeah, and I thought I had a picture of it today in the front as well. But
Yeah.
let me see.
Well, that was the redone one, wasn't it?
Yeah, but not the front. It was the back. So
Um,
this is the side. But see these windows right here? So
Right.
they were the eye windows back in the day. See?
yeah.
And they changed them to just the normal because it was those creepy eye windows.
Yeah.
I remember that too, man. That creeped me out, the eye windows. So why did they experience all that stuff? Because I just by watching the body language of Daniel, and then I don't put a lot of stock in lie detection tests, but for both of them to pass, they never went back. I mean, people say there was like a financial arrangement with their lawyer Weber to just turn it, the horror of the murders into a haunting to make a lot of money.
And they left all their belongings.
Everything.
Yeah,
They took
so
off. I don't think it was a big scheme.
it's sort of credible that they did
And
experience.
even later, you could tell like when they were interviewed. I mean, okay, so here's the deal. Daniel Lutz, he said when he was interviewed that George dabbled in the occult. Now, the only proof, though, that he had was some occultic books that Daniel saw on the bookcase and on a table when he was little. They've never been able to confirm that. I know from personal experience, when you start messing with stuff like that, you open a door.
Yeah.
And so if no one else who lived there did that kind of stuff and George was into that, it wouldn't surprise me at all if that's why they were the only family.
Yeah.
But it's
Could
never been
be.
confirmed. It's never been confirmed. We only have Daniel's word.
Right.
And I
But
think
that's
they're
a
dead.
minor little detail. Like, yeah, there were books of the occult. I remember that. And that's all he remembers. I mean, I believe him because it's such a minor, not thinking about a detail.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, the whole thing could be fake. But I'm with you guys. I think some of it was real. And this guy down here, William Weber, he actually sued, I believe, the Lutzes or testified or something because he was actually tied to the DeFeos somehow in a legal capacity. But he also said that him and the Lutzes came up with the scheme of the haunting over a glass of wine to make a lot of money. And he was supposed to get a cut from the book, and they never gave him his cut.
I don't know. It sounded like there was a lot of suing going around. I don't know that I believe him either. I did see a documentary once where they said the majority of the book is true, but they did embellish some things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also seen by others, supposedly.
Well, Daniel said that he's the one that saw the pig eyes and he knows that's real. And, like there's a book by a man called Frank Hammond, named Frank Hammond. It's called Pigs in the Parlor. And, a lot of the demonic is tied to pigs, the unclean animal thing and all that stuff in the Bible.
Well, also the story of the demons going into the pigs and then going into the.
Yep. And levitating is definitely, so I'm with you guys. I think there were some things, but I definitely think they embellished. I think they probably did enjoy the money, but they were probably awfully scared as well.
Yeah.
And they ended up divorcing later.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's it on the Amityville horror. So I'm glad we got Eddie Rabbit and Alabama figured out. And I'm glad that y'all think that they kind of look similar, all these people.
All of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Are you gonna watch the new movie?
I already did.
Oh, you did? Oh, what'd you
That
think?
wasn't as bad.
Oh, it wasn't?
No. And they changed a couple of things, and it was a little more suspenseful at the end and
Well,
stuff.
Ryan Reynolds can make anything okay.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, he can. We just watched a movie called Safe House with him in it with Denzel Washington. Oh, so good. So good.
I really like Denzel Washington.
Me too. So, any other thoughts? If not, we'll conclude this mini
Are you
series
thinking of another
episode.
book name?
No. I think the book name is perfect.
No, for this one. For this
It's perfect.
series.
Amityville.
Horror.
How long's he been in jail?
Since what, 75?
Wonder if he'll ever get out.
No.
Probably not.
So the thing about,
Mm.
both of the murders were in November too. There truly is such a thing as SAD, the seasonal disorder.
That's true. That's interesting. Now, in my research, most family annihilations occur in August.
What?
Which we'll get into. But yeah, most occur in August. Isn't that weird?
Wonder why.
It is a very expensive month if you got kids.
Or before school. Do it before school expenses.
Oh, yeah, I thought that too.
Oh, my word.
Well, some
Yeah.
of this I'm not gonna put on there, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to tell my story real quick.
Okay, so do I need to pause this? Or is it funny? Now, you know what? You just go ahead and you tell that story.
Okay. So we've been doing yoga down the road, and it's really just this particular one was just stretching, really good stretching, but all of it was done against a wall. So your back is on the floor, and then your
Is this
legs
gonna be about me?
Yes.
Oh,
And then your legs are against the wall. I'm next to Mom. And the lady goes, now open up your legs to a V. Mom goes, bam. I mean, quick. I've never seen her move so
they
quick.
said open them up
I
to
said-
a V.
And I'm like, slowly, I was like, you've done that a few times, have you?
I'm just doing what she said.
Yeah, it was very quick.
And you said that's so you, and I was thinking or something like that. I'm thinking, wonder what that means.
Yeah, she didn't get it. I came
'Cause
on
I'm-
with Dusty.
So,
Entertain all of you.
I mean, is that normal? Did you hurt anything?
No one else went, bam.
No, she
Like
just said open
shoop.
them. So
I mean, you've seen Mom. She doesn't move that fast. This
Right.
is
I'm real fast
well, you did. Well, apparently on some occasions you do.
because
But-
it's yoga.
Fussy face. You got to be careful.
Well, you know what? We're gonna go to yoga when you're here.
Oh, that's fine. No problem. I'll have my video
Yoga-
rolling.
Have you done yoga before?
Mom tries.
Lots of stretches. I don't
I do
usually do
pretty-
yoga with yoga instructors because they are a little weird for me, but I've done stretches.
Ours is pretty good.
Very good stretching. Makes my back feel so good.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you were here now.
All right, I'm going to stop.